Yeah. I mean, that's fine. If you want to be a hat guy, you got to commit, though, I think,
Yeah.
right? But you're only committing to one hat, is what I've noticed. It's just, do you
Mhm.
only own one hat, or do you
It's
have
just
other?
it's accessible. It's accessible.
It's good.
It's the accessible hat in the house.
The future of music.
The future of music. The future of music.
The future of music.
The future of music.
The Future of Music podcast.
Hey there, once again, darn it. I feel like I open every single one of these the same exact way, but it's okay.
That was the best. That was the best one.
It's good. That's good. Hey, welcome to the Future of Music podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive in the future of music, but not introductions. I am Ryan Withrow, one of your hosts, and to my side, who knows which one in the recording, somewhere over there, is Jonathan Boyd. You're sticking with the hat. You're sticking there. Is this you now? Like, this is what I can expect of you from now on.
Well, it's just about the time it takes to do a haircut. Putting on a hat is way easier, so you just do that for a few.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. If you want to be a hat guy, you got to commit, though, I think, right? But you're only committing to one hat, is what I've noticed. It's just, do you only own one hat, or do you have other?
It's accessible. It's accessible.
It's good.
It's the accessible hat in the house.
Okay, good, perfect. One hook just for the one hat, just at the front of the door next to the keys. That's
exactly
all you need. Well, it's good to see you, man. First of all, what have you been up to? You're back home. I never mentioned that. I think you were in the last 85 of these that we did, even though this is like our 23rd one that we've done. So you're back home. How was the travel? How's being back home?
Travel was great. We got really tired. We wanted to be back home, and then we got back home, and 2 days later, we're like, I want to travel again.
Oh, really? You're thinking about doing it again?
Yeah. It's
like
addicting.
Where?
Man.
When? How? Why?
Africa, 3 weeks at least. And potentially at the end of this year, we'll see how recovered we get.
That's impressive. Yeah. I mean, I travel to Ohio. I've done that. And then to like a Vegas, maybe once. And then that's too much for me. I traveling to the refrigerator gets hard, and my knees just can't take it at this point in life. But yeah, well, that's good, man. And it's good to be here with you. Good to be here with everybody listening and watching as well. We've got a couple things coming up today, man. So what should we get excited about? What should they be pumped for?
Yeah, some really interesting things. So I'm just going to leave you with some nice hooks out here. So number one, concerts in your living room. No, not actually people coming to your house. That's happened before, and it's really terrible when that happens. But concerts in your living room that you don't have to clean up afterwards. And how this is really interesting. So how UK musicians are actually learning less and less and less, so little that they're nearing the poverty line, and what the government is going to do about it. And then lastly, we're going to talk about one band's augmented reality app that they say will change the way that we experience festivals.
Very fancy. And one amazing experience that's very easy is to click subscribe, click the alerts so that you're reminded of every episode as it comes out, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. But you are right, my friend. We're going to dive into a couple of these headlines. One that hit me heavily was that, yesterday Apple did their huge thing, that they always do, which is this overproduced announcement of the same phone they've been releasing for the past 10 years in a row, which they did. This iPhone 15 now has titanium case, so slightly less weight.
Gotta upgrade the metals, man.
A little stronger, but everything else looks, at a glance identical, except for one thing that I've noticed, and that is something that I dug into a bit today. The iPhone 15 Pro will be Apple's first phone with a camera on it that has the actual spatial video ability. Now, we may need to remind everybody in case they forget or they're listening for the first time. The reason this is so cool is because Apple Vision Pro allows for spatial video. What does that mean? That means that I can be in the video where I shot it. So as I'm shooting the video, I could take that to my Apple Vision Pro now, put that headset on, and I could be in the video. I can move
Mhm.
around with the video. It's like 3D video within that platform. Now, of course, that's cool for all the stuff. That's cool for all the videos. But all the musicians now are basically saying, well, at least this gives us purpose to those useless concert videos and firework videos that we all take, but we never watch. Nobody else watches it as well. But what are your thoughts, man? So now we have this wonderful phone that we talk about all this stuff all the time, where this small thing has so much processing power. Now it's able to actually take video that we can walk through and revisit and be nostalgic with and actually be
Mhm.
inside of through their Apple Vision Pro. What are your thoughts about that in general? And then what do you think this is going to do for things like concerts, festivals,
Mhm.
performances, that stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, not only is this absolutely insane, I mean, you can literally, it's like the equivalent of taking a picture or a video on your phone, but later you can actually be there again. You can experience the moment again in quote reality. And that's just absolutely mind blowing, if not a little scary. But in terms of music stuff, it makes me think of, you mentioned the word nostalgia. So it makes me think of, like, let's say concert posters, autographs, things like that. Generally, when you used to go to concerts and, let's say there was no iPhones, how do you remember it? You remember it by stories, talking about it with your friends, getting a shirt, a signed poster, something like that. And you might hang that on your wall and you can look at it and it reminds you of the concert, right? But now we're talking about literally being able to go back to the same concert that you were at and actually being there again and seeing it again. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or not, because
Mhm.
when it comes to nostalgia and remembering the good times, so to speak, I don't think they're really as good as we remember them, right?
That's a good point.
So it might actually, in a way, kind of might deflate that experience a little bit, or the memories. Really curious to hear your thoughts on that. But before that, I would say, and I'll hand it back to you because I want to hear your thoughts on this too. Concerts. I think bands, musicians, artists are going to find out ways to monetize this. And what I mean is, clearly a lot of people take videos on their phones and whatnot, and they of course they will, right? So I'm wondering if there's a way that if you go to a concert, the band or whoever is playing, can have some kind of rules, laws, whatever it is, about how somehow all of the videos of the concert uh, get uploaded to a certain place. Maybe they get gated somehow. Maybe you have to pay for access to it or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that won't happen at all. But what I do think will definitely happen is we're going to have an explosion of experiences of concerts that you can literally just like search online. Maybe you find that, I don't know, Red Hot Chili Peppers concert or something that you weren't able to attend, but you can go see people's videos and actually go there, like in your headset. So that's really interesting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think first of all, my thought is a question. How clunky do you think it's going to be at first?
The video?
Yeah. I mean, like, that's
I
when
don't
you
know.
think about the actual, like, here's the thing about Apple. We love Apple. I'm surrounded by Apple products right now. I'm not saying anything at all against Apple, but when you think about like the grandiose vision that they have for
Yeah.
this spatial video, it's very cool. But when you
Hmm.
start to think about it in application in the immediate, okay, I'm taking a video from this point here, and it's casting out toward a stage, we'll say, of a concert.
Hmm.
Like, it obviously doesn't know what the other side of the humans who are facing the opposite way, the backs of their heads, it doesn't know what their
Yep.
faces look like. It doesn't know like how to handle those dimensions just yet. Who knows? I mean, I have no idea. Is there like some kind of sonar technology? I don't know. But I expect it to be very clunky at first,
Hmm.
and or not like ready for release at first until they work out some of those kinks. Because obviously Apple is one that really takes time to build and make sure they perfect it a bit before they release it. It's not like a beta testing situation most of the time with them.
Hmm.
But I'm going to be interested in a couple things. One, how clunky is it at first? And then two, how long does it take for this just to be another normal thing for the generations that are living right now and don't realize that back in the day it was a concert and that's the only way you saw the concert. You
Hmm.
couldn't go on YouTube, you couldn't go anywhere. There was nowhere to go. There were not camera phones. There was nothing. You had to just be like, I saw the band. They were great. You should have been there. So at what point does it become so normal that the new generations are like, yeah, no, I sat in on the concert that he went to, and it was pretty cool. I didn't mind it. But like, when does that become normal is the other thing. But yeah, I think that it'll be really good for experience as long as it's done well. I think that it'll be able to be shared nicely. And when we think about the Apple Vision Pro and how it's supposed to be kind of like in your space, in your office, it's supposed to just be a part of your daily life. Just imagine like a friend going to a concert and sending you a text message of a spatial video and just being like, let me check out what they're seeing right now. Let me go check it out. And being in there and being able to text them back and be like, that looks amazing. So I think that if done right, this will be really, really cool. And I'll obviously be really interested because I'm the guy that ruins set lists as well. So I am that guy that always looks up the set list before going, and nobody wants to talk to. Nobody wants to talk to me about it. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I didn't answer a single question. So there you go.
No, you didn't. I'm not going to let you off the hook for my thoughts about concerts and how people feel about the nostalgic elements of going to concerts. So you have to answer that in a moment. But as far as it being clunky, that's definitely something that I've thought about. And I think we can go super deep on this. I know we've got a couple of other things to cover here, but I thought about the interface or the threshold of where does the camera capturing end and the maybe generation or the stuff that it didn't capture, where does that begin and what does that look like? What comes to mind is two things. One, the iPhone has two sides. So we would think that it can only film one way. But I don't know if you've ever seen a 3D camera, but it can literally film 360 degrees. So I was wondering about what happens if you film a concert, but then in the video, when you're looking at it with your headset on, what if you look down at your feet? Or what if you like turn around and try to see the guy behind you? Are they there? Or is it just a black space? I mean, what is that like? I think that's what you're referring to when it can be clunky, but I'm pretty sure if they're coming out with the Vision Pro and judging by their past track record, pretty sure they're going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah. Maybe it'll look like when panoramic photos came out at first, and you get that one guy with a extremely elongated nose or something, and you're just like, well, this photo's ruined now. This is terrible. Maybe it'll be like that. Maybe. And nostalgia. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I have younger family, right? I mean, younger. I have nieces and nephews who are really young, but I'd say in early 20s. And it's a weird thing, man. You and I grew up in the day and age of going to shows, going to concerts, and that was like a part of our culture. That was life. And for him and them, like, it's not much. Like, they don't really focus on it that much anymore. I mean, he's been to maybe 3 shows, 4 shows in his whole life. And every show he's like, it was fun. It was good. But it's never like this amazing experience. And I think it's because everything is just saturated. You could look on YouTube all day. You could listen to Spotify anywhere you want to go. You could listen to their music. It's just a question of nostalgia for us. Yeah. I could see it being like, I mean, it's cool. I thought it was cooler than this, but for them, I don't even know if they care. I don't even know if they care. I think they're just like, check it out. Look, I was at this thing. Cool. Good. I'm glad you looked at that. So that's another thing. I don't know. I don't know what to expect, man. I have no idea. I have no clue.
Great point. Yeah. So your other question about how long does it take, before this thing becomes normal? And I think that what you just said actually speaks to it, because nowadays, you walk around and you see all the kids and they're just looking at their phone, swipe. You don't even know what they're doing. I don't even think they know what they're doing. They're just,
it's off.
It's crazy.
Battery's dead.
it's just off. Yeah. Or it's backwards. But, yeah, I mean, I can totally see this being a normal thing. Like you said, where on one hand, it's a shame that people don't really go to concerts like we are used to, the how it has been for a long time. But on the other hand, I totally see this being the new version of a TikTok video, where it's like, hey, check out this concert. We're here in this place. And not even concerts, of course. Somebody can be traveling or on top of a mountain or whatever it is. But I definitely see that happening and becoming, here's a $10 word, ubiquitous pretty soon. Over the next, you like that? Yeah, that was expensive. I had to buy that one. Anyway, I would say within 2 years ish, 2 to 3 years, it's going to start becoming, from what I'm saying, I think it's going to start becoming more of a normal everyday thing, but everybody won't be using it. I would give it maybe 5 to 7 years and it will be like a normal, this is how it is now type thing.
Yeah. And I think the next X amount of time, even 1 year, 2 years of rollout of all of this stuff will really determine the longevity of what everything looks like. Because again, if it looks like garbage for 6 months, people just don't, they won't use it. But
Yep.
again, Apple's the one doing it. So you're
We'll
more
see.
than likely you'll get a good product out of it, or they'll be like, nope, no more. It's not happening anymore.
I got an idea real quick.
I'm
Before we
ready.
go to the next thing. Good. Here it is. Here it is. Apple. So Apple's expensive, right? They should come out with a budget line and
I'm
call
ready.
it Orange. Sorry, I had to say that. A budget line
Okay.
of Apple called Orange. Anyway, all right, next topic. Here we go.
Yeah, I could tell the hat, the jokes. You're getting to dad age for sure. So let's continue. So we're talking about one extreme, which is this like super high level, expensive technology to integrate AR, VR. But the thing we've talked about, that's an issue there on that side is the actual
Mhm.
performer, the actual like human musician. And within the last week, there's been two really huge articles that came out of the UK. One of which really helps us understand the struggle of the modern musician, which is the fact that half of working UK musicians earn less than £14,000 a year, which is what a census revealed. Now, that's about 15,000 USD, depending on what those rates look like right now. But the average salary is £33,000. So it's more than half. Like it's less than, less than half of the average salary in the UK is what half of their
Mhm.
musicians are getting now. And they say it's mostly because nobody's really paying attention to musicians, like in general. Like
Mhm.
they're not getting hired, they're not getting booked, they're not getting paid, they're losing money in streaming, they're not able to sell albums, everything we've talked about. And
Yep.
there's another side of the equation here, and we'll talk about both real quick and then break them apart. But the UK also, in the past week, started pushing heavily on regulations for things like AI music, but also the big
Mm.
one, music education and music learning, because so few people are engaging in actual music education anymore. So we have the one side, which is the musicians that are thriving and now they're suffering because of this, but it's been their life. They've studied it. They've done everything they can do to be the best musician they can be. And now we have this other effect that's happening, which is as technology is progressing, it seems like there might be a trend that says not many people care to learn music as it was. A lot of people
Mhm.
are just like, AI does it now. Well, that's fine. I don't need to learn anything about music. Forget music education. So first, let's talk about the struggle and the real struggle. I mean, it was always a struggle. Anybody that's been a musician on the road, it's always a struggle, but it's
Mhm.
even more so now. Obviously, what we've been talking about a lot, musicians losing money to technology, streaming, everything, and the music industry stresses. But I'm sure it's not a shock for you, right? I'm sure you were expecting that figure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that figure, but I mean, as you detail what's happening and where I could see it, right? It's pretty expected. And I think what we talked about just a moment ago about the newer generation and what are they into? What are their experiences like? How do they interact day to day? It's just to put a blanket word on it. It's obviously becoming more and more and more and more digitized, but in a way that the life or the lifestyle exists in a box, a
Mm.
computer or a phone or or text messages, whatever it is. Um, so there's a few things here. Number one, it points to the idea that the society in general, at least that local society in the UK, doesn't value musicianship and live musicians the way maybe they once did. Obviously, you said musicians have always struggled, and of course, that's why we have the term struggling musician, right? But it seems to be moving away from that even more, to where almost you could see where there's a future where actual musicians are almost obsolete. And at that
Mhm.
point, you have to ask, well, what does the role of music play in society at that point? Is it just background music? Is it just to
Yeah.
enhance a mood or something? I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I see it here in Texas and Central Texas heavily too. Same thing, which is It just seems like nobody really pays that much attention right now.
Hmm.
And I don't think, that could be something that's there forever at this point, or it could just be a blip in time that we're at where people don't understand why there should be appreciation around
Hmm.
it. And potentially, if we go 5 years even further down the hole here, they start to go, you know what, we should probably watch things. But it seems like anymore, if you are Taylor Swift, you're in. You're good to go. You'll sell out all your shows. You'll make so much money. You're great. If you are half that ability, nah, kind of obsolete. And like, no, nobody really cares. So unless you are one of the top 10 to 50 stars out there, or bands
Hmm.
out there, you're starting to feel the pain. All the venues where we used to go years ago in Texas are all looking for help from the city because they
Yep.
can't keep their doors open because nobody's coming, nobody's seeing shows, and they have to pay the musicians. And
Hmm.
it's not abnormal. I'm not shocked by it. It's sad. I'm not shocked. It's sad as a musician to see this happening. But again, it's always been a struggle, not this
Yeah.
much, as that's for sure. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just like a small piece of time right now where we're in this moment of um, not a no ability to realize what's missing now,
Hmm.
like missing that realization.
Yeah, I kind of look at this as the same way as vinyl records. So there will always be a market for vinyl records. It's a niche, right? And there will always be diehard fans. Same thing with classical music. Same thing with anything that comes and goes. When it goes, it doesn't all go. There's a few people who always hang on to it, and it continues to live on. But I can actually see the in-person concert experience being more of an underground. I mean, it's a lot of it has always been underground, but kind of a niche thing where like people who are into records, if you're into records, you might like going to shows. It's that kind of a thing. But also, as we've been talking, I can also see that the general directions of a direction of things. We're talking about AR, VR headsets, experiencing concerts in VR, etc. Just like I said a moment ago about new generation is increasingly digitizing the entire world, I could actually see where bands or groups or artists or whatever they're going to be called in the future, um, are they distribute live music, and it doesn't even have to be live, but they distribute digitally. I know that sounds simple. What I mean, because we already have MP3s and things like that. What I mean is the concert experience. I could see a group of guys getting in together into a room, and like maybe they play some kind of live show, if you will, or whatever. But it can be in a way where 5-10 years down the road, everybody sitting at home across the globe, in their on their couch, can actually watch the concert, like being in the studio with them, right? And if that's the case, then what if the band was charged? What if the admission, instead of going to see a show for $100, what if they charged 50 cents? But then they had 500,000 people across the whole world tune into their show. You know what I mean? So it completely flips the economics completely in the other direction.
Two things with that, though. Then it becomes another situation of, if you don't have 500,000 people that want to see it, and maybe you
Yep.
have, 50,000 dedicated fans, you're still struggling a bit, depending.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other concern that pops up is, if streaming pays so little, I don't see, unless there are regulations put in place or it becomes a main topic and focus, I don't see us focusing on revenue growth for musicians as we become more digitized. It hasn't happened yet. And there are
Mm-hmm.
so many musicians complaining about it and so many companies complaining about it. But it's still nothing's happened. And how long have we been using something like Apple Music, Spotify, all of these streaming
Mm-hmm.
services? A long time when you think about it. I listen to, and I'm guilty of it, I listen to Spotify every day. That's where I listen to my music. I am not supporting the artists I like at all, other than spending way too much on their concerts and meet and greets and all of that stuff, which is another thing. But again, it's interesting to me. I have no idea, man. I have no idea. But speaking of artists and listening to music, I will try to act like I'm cool. with this next article. I don't listen to this artist at all. I'm so sorry, but I did listen to dig in, and I actually dig it. I don't mind it. So Aphex Twin. Did I say that correctly? I think I
Yep.
said it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So Aphex Twin's new augmented reality app lets you enjoy the festival experience in your living room. Now, again, you're probably thinking, ooh, spatial VR. Not yet, but I want everybody to be thinking about these, if our powers combined, Captain Planet. But Aphex Twin has launched a new augmented reality app. And here's the name of it. You ready? It is dubbed YXBOZXH0D2LU. Yeah, it translates to Aphex Twin when decrypted using binary to text encoding. But Aphex Twin himself said that this is a way to offer an alternate world of interactive AR and bringing the artwork, music, and video to life in 3D. So what this is it's just AR via phone at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I want everybody to be thinking about what's possible as we continue to talk about the idea of developing headsets for virtual reality, AR, XR, and what could be possible with this stuff. And I actually have a video that somebody recorded of them using the phone and showing you what the artwork looks like. We'll make sure that we put it in here, and we'll make sure that we link the video to this as well in the show notes. But let's take a look here, sir. Let's pop this in. Enjoy. Perfect. I was
All
grooving.
right.
I was jamming. Now, just for everybody that isn't watching it, essentially it's just a scan of the vinyl artwork, and it starts to give you really good background images like you would see at almost like an EDM festival or something on the
Mhm.
screen with the lasers and all the imagery behind you. But my big focus here and what I like about what I'm seeing is, again, combining this concept.
Mhm.
Because obviously that was all stuff that would be up behind the DJs they're playing, and it would be intended to be a part of this festival and enjoying the concert experience. And at one point they take the phone and they go into the box that is
Mhm.
created and they scan around. And that's what intrigued me, because I imagined instantly a world where I could put on the VR headset and I could create my own kind of space with all of this imagery and listening to music, and how artists can start to create basically visual shows and cinematics
Mhm.
that people can actually listen to the music, but also be in the music with as they scan certain things and do certain functions. But what are your thoughts? You hadn't seen it yet. So I come from a bias of seeing that before, but yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, at first I honestly had no idea what I was watching. I mean, it's just like you said, it's things that you would see on a screen at some kind of festival or a DJ playing or something like that, with a big exception that it's 3D. So what this actually, the main thing that it makes me think of is it's combining multiple elements of some form of entertainment that we've had before that have never been combined. So a book, like reading a book, you create a movie in your head, right? You create this scene in your head based on whatever the words are saying. And then at a concert, you're watching obviously you're watching the band or the artist or whatever play, but you're watching some kind of a show or some kind of a screen or fireworks or whatever it is, lasers, etc. And you're there. It's 3D, right? But then also music videos. So music videos are for music that's recorded. Concerts are for live music, of course. But if you have, let's say you have an album or you have a song, I can see instead of creating a music video, you're almost creating a music experience where you're in it, like you're in the song, you can see in 3D, almost where. And the reason I mentioned the books is because it's almost like artists can now create worlds. I don't know, that sounds strange, but create a world that you can experience and be in and explore as you're listening to this music. So it's a really interesting additional level to the word experience is not what I'm looking for. The whatever, we'll just use that word. The experience of the music is just has an additional layer now.
Yeah, I like it. I like what I'm seeing only because it really shows you how something so simple can be done quickly and easily, but what potential there is for a lot of dedication to it, let alone monetization wise, right? We can easily sell that experience on Apple Vision Pro or another headset or something, or it could be a requirement that you have to buy physical albums from the artist to experience it. So there are a bunch of different ways
Could
that
be.
you can think about it, but I don't know. The immersion is really, really something that I look forward to as we continue this journey of music and experiences, as you said. And that's part of the experience of going to a festival, right? Part of the experience, I'm not that into like EDM stuff, but if at the festivals they do here in town, it's there at night, I'm going to go check it out because it is a really cool experience to see how much they put into lighting, lasers, strobes, effects, visuals, everything. So now to think that I could sit in my living room and enjoy that whenever I want to just kind of zone out and check out everything that they have, I'm excited about it. And again, it just shows how much we're starting to move into this world. We have now spatial video. We have the idea of incorporating this augmented reality technology with music designed by the musicians so that they can create experiences that aren't just at one festival that you can't make it to across the world. It's for everybody now. And it just makes sure that, for me, it just makes a lot of things way more accessible. The question always comes down to, does that give money to the musicians for the work they're doing, though? I don't know. I think we'll see. But those are my initial thoughts. But I'll go back to you for anything else.
Yeah, I mean, as far as monetization, anytime there's something new, there's just going to be new methods of monetization. Whether that value flows to the musicians or not, I think is going to be completely dependent on, is there a middleman and can they directly monetize their value that they create? So, for example, most people listening to this, if they're future focused, have probably heard the idea of an NFT before. So what band Kings of Leon's, I think they were at least publicly, they were the first band to release an album as an NFT or songs as NFTs. And because they directly control the distribution, they have the value and they have the payment mechanism and the payment gateway so people can pay for it, but they directly receive the money, right? They directly receive from that. So the more how do I say, vehicles that musicians can access to have a direct payment connection with customers, then the more value they will be able to accrue. Therefore, the more they will be able to raise their incomes. But obviously, that's a completely different topic. As far as the augmented reality thing, I think overall, man, I think the trend is clear. To kind of sum up everything that we talked about today, I think it's very clear that we're moving into the future without stopping it. And what I mean is VR, AR, the new musical economy or whatever. I think it's pretty dang clear at this point. Through all our episodes, all of our conversations, it's here. And we're at the beginning, but it's here. It's not going anywhere. It's kind of like a fog rolling in. It's going to take over everything, right? So I think in general, the more you can learn as a musician, as an artist, the more you can learn about all of this stuff. Obviously, follow what we talk about on the podcast, but the more up to date and aware you can be of all the changes taking place and where things are going. Like Wayne Gretzky, the famous hockey player, used to say, don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going to be. And if you can do that, then I think you can honestly capitalize handsomely on all of this. I think there are going to be far more opportunities for musicians to make a great living if you know how and where to look.
Also, a great reminder for what a ton of the people that we've had on here have said. You really need to start focusing on business as
Yep.
well as being a musician. You know, it back in the day it was nice. You could just be
Yep.
a rock and roll star and just be set. That's it. Not the case now. All right. There are opportunities. There are far more opportunities. It's just making sure that you capitalize on those opportunities in the right way
Yep.
and make sure you are in the right mindset. If you want to make money, it's there. It takes work,
Mhm.
but it's definitely there. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm still looking forward to that
Same.
Apple Vision Pro. I will probably have to beg on the streets for at least 3 years to get the income to pay for a quarter of it. And I will maybe potentially just go into debt and be sad as well in the process. I don't know. But either way, I got to get one when they come out just because of all the amazing things that they're doing right now. And it's just, they're building up such a good amount of excitement for it with all
Mhm.
the things that they're doing and all the potential that is coming from it. So we'll look forward to that. In any event, thanks for being here, you, John. And thanks for everybody being here, listening, watching. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you click the alerts, and you follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, we will see you later. And thanks for listening to the Future of Music podcast.